Good morning and welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lowdown. I'm Anthony Irwin. Today on the show, we are going to be discussing the updates, air quotes, heavy air quotes on the update word there on Jared Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent. The Lakers were asked about those situations, and I will relay the message as they gave it to the press today. We're going to be talking a little bit about LeBron James's comments on Bronny not making mock drafts now and kind of an update on that situation. Obviously, very pertinent to the Lakers as they look to continue their relationship with LeBron beyond this season potentially. I also had a report, obviously, yesterday that went a little viral today. So I'm just going to have some fun with you guys at some of the reactions to it. And, if there's some time here at the end of the show, I will answer some questions, whether they come from the Apple iTunes 5-star reviews or here from the comment section. So get those questions in if you have them, and we will get to them as best I can here at the tail end of the show. A quick reminder, please do, if you guys are watching live on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate that. If you're watching on Twitter, please either follow me at Anthony Irwin LA, where I will be dropping some personal news, I think, in the next day or so. So you guys will have that to look forward to if you guys are interested in that. And if you are watching on Twitter, please do head on over to YouTube and hit subscribe there. The link is youtube.com/@LakersLounge, where you could find our show, and we can all do these things as often as I possibly can. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the first story of the day, that being Jared Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent's availability moving forward. As the Lakers practiced today, the beat reporters were given access to Darvin Ham so that they could, ask him on, whatever topics. And one of the topics that came up, according to those beat reporters, was we were told that we were supposed to get an update on Jared Vanderbilt and on Gabe Vincent after the All-Star break. We have obviously gotten updates on Cam Reddish and Max Christie, right? Max is now playing again, and Cam is now considered probable for, by the time you guys are listening this in podcast form, tonight's game against the Clippers. For those of you watching live, obviously that is going to be tomorrow night. Good news, I guess, on that front. Paul George is not going to be available, and despite not practicing today, Anthony Davis should be available tomorrow, despite his dealing with an upper respiratory issue. But yeah, so back to Jared Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent. No update, basically. The beat reporters were told that they are not quite ready to be reevaluated quite yet. Though they are apparently still on schedule, even though the reevaluations are now being pushed back. I do know that, like with Gabe, at the time of his surgery, the time frame that they were talking about was about mid-March when he would be making his return. So I guess you're technically still on schedule there with Gabe. And with Vanderbilt, we still don't even know what the actual injury is. They haven't even come out and told people that. Now, as I've been reporting for Mike Muscala is being bought out by the Detroit Pistons. That's interesting, given the Wood situation. Adrian Wojnarowski just tweeted out that Mike Muscala just got bought out. So I guess I'll keep an eye on that. But that would be hilarious, bringing Mike Muscala back after the Zubats trade. But anyway, Jared Vanderbilt got hurt, was told that it's going to be a lengthy process getting him back. And the optimistic view that we have been given, right, is that to this point, according to Rob Pelinka, they have avoided surgery. Not that any like strides are being taken or made there in his return to the court, but they have been able to avoid surgery to this point. Jovan Buha tweeted out about the fact that they asked the I think it was Darvin Ham that they spoke to, which is always a bit of an adventure. Darvin Ham giving injury updates, but neither Gabe Vincent nor Jared Vanderbilt have made any kind of return to on-court activity, which means that like in both of their cases, they are both dealing with lower body injuries. So you're going to have conditioning to deal with, and then it's about getting back into a rhythm with the guys that you're playing with. In Vanderbilt's case, he at least showed that he like looked good at one point this year. Vincent never looked particularly good this year. So yeah, as I've been told, with excuse me, with Vanderbilt, I've been told not to expect him back. And then with Gabe, remember with Gabe, Shams Charania randomly put at the bottom of one of his articles that Gabe Vincent would be making his return, and I think in the next couple days or whatever. And at that time, I said that doesn't seem consistent with what I'm being told. So I checked back in on it. The same people that told me about, that talked to me about Gabe in the first place, said, yeah, no real update on our front. So then we went from that to he didn't play in the game that Shams Charania said that he was going to be playing in. Then he played in the following game, and then like a week later was out again, and then obviously and inevitably he headed towards surgery. So I in that case, right, I hope to be able to provide you guys better information, or like more positive information. The information is good that I keep providing you guys, and in both of those guys' cases, I don't know how much they factor into the Lakers' plans moving forward. They brought in Spencer Dinwiddie, so even if Gabe makes his return, that's a minutes crunch at that position. So I think the Lakers are basically planning on Gabe not being available for the rest of this year. And Vanderbilt, I've been told that they are consider him in much of the same way. So I wish I had more much more a better update to provide to you guys there, but that is just not the case as it currently stands. Brandon Oming with a super comment, which means we get to play this. Should I play it again? For those of you who are like, I've had a couple questions what they're saying. To be absolutely clear, they're saying fuck Boston, which always ups my mood. I'll play it again. Fuck Boston! Brandon Oming says, if the Lakers play the Nuggets in Western Conference Finals, Vando or Spencer Dinwiddie / Murray, Austin Reeves / KCP, Braun / MPJ, Rui / Aaron Gordon, AD / Yo, I guess are matched up against those guys. You think that would work defensively? That's a good question. You would like to have Vando. I don't think they are going to have Vando, but I don't love the idea of Spencer Dinwiddie guarding Jamal Murray there. It's not great that you're still not mentioning D'Angelo Russell in that series or in those matchups. That makes like that, that I think kind of speaks for itself. What we've noticed lately, or what I've at least noticed lately with Spencer Dinwiddie, is he's been picking up a ton of fouls recently. I haven't looked at his per 36 foul rate, but it's probably pretty high up there. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he hasn't played serious defense in a long time, and he's trying to get back to playing serious defense and isn't quite equipped to do so right now, whether that's mentally or physically, whether it's because of the habits or like, wear and tear over the course of a career. I think he's committing a lot of fouls because he's just not a very good defender. And, unfortunately, that puts you at a bit of a disadvantage, in that matchup or in those minutes, right, where you would like to get something from Dinwiddie. He isn't shooting the ball very well. Darvin Ham was asked about Dinwiddie and said that Dinwiddie just needs to hoop, which is such a perfectly on brand response from Darvin. Like, no, we're not doing anything to get him loose. We aren't doing anything to get him in more pick and roll situations. We aren't doing anything to get him any more confidence. We just need him to go out there and play. It's a tough spot there with Dinwiddie. So that Murray matchup there, the Lakers were hoping to have Vanderbilt there. I think you probably have Max in that spot to defend Murray. You probably have Cam Reddish in that spot to defend Murray, but then you kind of wonder what Reddish at least does to your offense. So the Nuggets are a brutal matchup. That's why they've won 7 straight against the Lakers. Another comment here from Brandon, which means I get to do this again. Brandon writes, for the rotation, one of AD/Bron needs to be in always. Rui should be getting 30 plus minutes. Spencer Dinwiddie around 18 to 20. Max and Prince around 15. Hayes around 10. Yeah, it sounds about right. I think Prince probably plays more than 15. I don't think they're going to cut his minutes in half. But in terms of, a playoff rotation, I would probably hope that some of those Prince minutes winds up, and we'll see. Like if Dinwiddie doesn't improve his play, I don't think he should be in the play. There shouldn't be some like guarantee that Dinwiddie is in the playoff rotation. You still have to get a bunch of minutes to Russell. You still have to get a bunch of minutes to Austin Reeves. Frankly, Max has outplayed Dinwiddie by large stretch. A wide gap is there between Max and Spencer right now. So if Dinwiddie doesn't improve his play, I don't think he should be guaranteed a spot in the playoff rotation. So I do want to discuss just a quick little aside here, basically on LeBron James commenting on mock drafts no longer having Bronny in them, right? And basically considering him a 2025 draft candidate more so than a 2024 one. Remember, this basketball year started for Bronny with a trip to the hospital and a very, very serious, potentially life-threatening situation there that scared a lot of people. Correctly scared a lot of people. I have a heart condition. I have a abnormal aorta. And you ask my mom, if I ask my mom, like the thing that she was always the most nervous about, it was always me just dropping dead or collapsing on a court because my heart just decided that isn't enough. Probably not the smartest thing that I could have possibly done to gain a bunch of weight after my athletic career and put that much more pressure on my heart or whatever. But certainly, like when I heard about that situation and found out that he was going to be playing in the year after that, I thought that was kind of extreme, to be completely honest. I'm not a doctor, but I thought that was kind of crazy. And so he winds up playing in this USC season, and he hasn't lived up to expectations. Like, I think that's fair. I don't think he has been. I don't think if his dad wasn't LeBron James, he would be considered a viable option in this upcoming draft. And so LeBron got frustrated with it and basically tweeted out his frustration, saying that, let the kid enjoy college, and there's it's just too much focus on him, and he can't let him live his life, basically. And it's like, okay, but I don't think you would be telling people to not write about him if he was playing well enough to be included in those mock drafts. LeBron has since deleted those tweets. This is the same LeBron James, by the way, who said in a locker room within earshot of his teammates that Bronny could play on this team over some of his teammates, which, is just objectively not true. I don't know enough about college basketball and scouting guys to get ready. Like this is, I don't do that work until it is right about the time of the draft, and I only do it specifically with guys that I think are going to be in the Lakers range, right? Who are getting mocked in that Lakers range of wherever they're going to be selecting, as I did, by the way, with like Jaime Jaquez, who I was really hoping the Lakers would draft because I'm Mexican and because I'm a UCLA fan and because he was really effing good at UCLA, a school that produces a lot of really good professional basketball players. I'm not bitter, but yeah, I haven't paid too close attention to Bronny, and I'm not going to make a comment on like he will never be an NBA player. Like I think he's probably good enough to eventually get drafted. He just needs more time. And I think that's essentially the point that LeBron was trying to make, is like, let the kid come along at the speed that he needs to come along at. Unfortunately and fortunately for some kids, these mock drafts do raise awareness to those to guys who play well enough to rise in those mock drafts, or in some cases play poorly enough to drop in them. And it's a part of the industry. It's a part of the NBA economy, and it's going to be something that people are going that like the idea that people should just not pay attention to Bronny because he has played poorly this year or not lived up to expectations this year is kind of insane, right? Like, you know who your dad is, LeBron, you know who your kid is, and he's going to benefit from that exposure, has benefited from that exposure. And unfortunately, the other side of that sword, or the other side of that blade, right, is that sometimes it's negative exposure when things don't go to plan. Um, Also, he still might get drafted. Like, he still might enter the draft, and some team still might. The Lakers might, at the very, very end of the draft, bring Bronny in for the sake of appeasing LeBron. And if that happens, then okay, like, we all move forward with our lives, and maybe Bronny is good enough to legitimately help the team the year after he gets drafted, or maybe he does the Thanasis Antetokounmpo thing and just like sticks around in the NBA because of who he's related to. Nepotism is a part of all industry, right? We root for a team owned currently by Jeannie Buss, daughter of Dr. Buss. We root for a team, kind of heralded, by Rob Pelinka, who got that job because of his relationship with Kobe Bryant. Nepotism, cronyism, all those isms, like they aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And neither, it appears, are stories about Bronny and his attempts and continued attempt to get into the NBA. All right, so I do want to just again spend a couple minutes on this one as well here. I'll play the clip. I'll go ahead and play the clip because why not? This is the clip that went a little viral today on Twitter, and it has to do with, for those of you who have wondered why Taurean Prince gets so many minutes, here's unfortunately my answer. I've been told by people close to that situation that he considers, like, because he likes to find analogs to that Bucks team that he was an assistant coach on when they won the championship. And his analog with Taurean Prince is Chris Middleton.
Never mind. Fire him. I forget everything I just said.
This isn't me. This isn't me like speculating anymore. No, I was joking about this with Jovan last night. I was like, dude, you'll never believe what I heard. And I said it on the air, and I have to repeat it now because I can't believe it's something that is I've been told. But anyway, like,
do you think AD is their Brook Lopez?
He plays a lot of drop.
Oh God. Oh. I'm done. Forget everything I just said.
I like winning arguments against Harrison is my thing. So anyway, I tweeted out that clip, and obviously, as you would expect, people on Twitter reacted poorly to it. And I'm not like, I could go through and find the mentions and the quote tweets that made me laugh or whatever. Instead of doing that, though, I do want to like build on the concept and the idea of like expand this beyond Darvin, because you see this pretty often where a player or a coach, I guess, has some success in some different situation and then tries to recreate that success to, like that's the whole point is you work your ass off to succeed the one time, and then you hope to God that like you can recreate a version of that and enjoy that success all over again, and then you hit repeat and repeat and repeat. And I great coaches adapt to their teams, right? Like great coaches, Phil Jackson, right? Phil Jackson in the three-peat by itself when he was a Lakers coach, right? Different power forwards. You had Horace Grant, you had Robert Ory, you had AC Green, you had and then again he won 2 more championships, right? That time with obviously with Kobe still, but with Powell and with Odom and with Bynum, and all 5 of those championship teams played a different type of basketball. They all kind of had different identities to them, right? The first year that Kobe and Powell won a championship together, that looked different than the second year that they won it, right? Because the first year they won that championship together, they had Trevor Ariza. And then that situation plays out poorly. Trevor Ariza winds up leaving. You bring in Ron Artest. Well, that team plays very differently when you have Ron Artest on it compared to when you have Trevor Ariza. A really fun what if is if they would have been able to keep both of those guys, because I think you probably three-peat if you're able to keep both. Anyway, the Greg Popovich, right? He won a few championships with Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, but then he also won a championship with Kawhi Leonard being the finals MVP, right? Great coaches, the best coaches, right? They find a way to make it work, even if players aren't directly analogous to the situation that they're currently coaching in. The thing that drives me insane, though, is why Darvin would latch onto only and specifically that Milwaukee Bucks team that he won a championship with. Yeah, you won the championship with them, but you also had a pretty damn good season last year, pretty damn good playoff run last year with these guys. And I would think it's a lot easier to find analogs from roster to roster when some of those analogs would be those guys, right? Like you don't need to find a new Rui when Rui is there. You don't need to find a new, I don't know, you don't need to find a new D'Angelo Russell. I guess you needed to find a new Spencer Dinwiddie, right? And the hope this year was that Gabe Vincent would provide some of what Dennis brought, but also would find a way to add to that, right? Tweak it a little bit. The way that I talked about it with Pete when he was on the show earlier this year was how I liked that Gabe could at least hypothetically operate with different sized windows compared to Schroeder, who kind of only liked to operate with a lot of time on the ball. And with this team, though, like the further and further that you go from this team, and the harder that you try to make these guys completely different players altogether, the worse those fits are going to be. And I think that there are some things that at least theoretically could have worked this year, right? 5 out could have worked in some ways and in some versions, but unfortunately there was a diminished value there because at the beginning of the season, Austin Reeves couldn't shoot the ball very well, right? D'Angelo Russell and Austin like kind of took turns struggling this season. And, eventually the Lakers had to kind of tweak their approach. I think defensively that the Lakers could have done some things differently this year that more comfortably aligns with the talent on this roster rather than, continue to, give up wide open 3-pointers. You have like good athletes on this team. You had Vanderbilt before he got hurt. You have Reddish, you have Max, you have even Prince, who I think is fine in short bursts defensively. Needing to give up so many wide open 3-pointers just because it's on the scouting department that guy shot, a certain percentage on the year, and never adjusting as that game plays out in a way that the opposing team is taking advantage of your scouting report. Like those things hurt you, right? And as easy as it is to just kind of laugh at that quote, right, that clip by itself, you also like I felt the need to examine it further and wonder why it is this guy just refuses, even 60 plus games now into the season, to acknowledge the roster that he actually has, the guys that he actually has. And until he does, it's probably too late at this point, but until he does, the Lakers are always going to be inconsistent because, do anything that you feel uncomfortable with, right? And perpetually uncomfortable with, right? I don't feel comfortable in like a lot of the clothes that like young people wear nowadays, right? And I could dress more like a YouTuber when I do these shows, but I would do it and I'd be like, the whole time I'd be sitting here doing the show, I'd be looking at myself do the show and be like, I look like an idiot. Like, and it would be in the back of my mind. I would never be particularly comfortable and it just wouldn't work. Right. And I think the Lakers all year this year have been trying to be this thing, or their coaching staff has been trying to make these guys into things that they are not. And part of the reason that they have been so inconsistent this year is because they aren't comfortable doing the things that is being asked of them, when the things that they are comfortable doing actually lead to success. Right. So not only is it that you're taking these guys out of their comfort zone, but you're taking them away from success to get out of that comfort zone. And I just think it's a combination, and it's a combination of all of these things that compound issues. And that's how you arrive at a Lakers team with a healthy LeBron James and a healthy Anthony Davis fighting and scratching and clawing to stay within play-in range. All right. I am going to go ahead and, you know what? Harrison and I meant to spend more time on this, so I'll spend a few minutes here on it as well. But you had Brian Windhorst go on, I believe it was First Take, and talk about LeBron's contract situation. I meant to play it in yesterday's show. We ran out of time, so I'll go ahead and play it here.
What's so fascinating about the Lakers is that so much of the time they're basically an average to above average team. I mean, they are in 9th place. Yep. But they were in 9th place right about now a year ago. And the thing about this team that is just wild is that they have the ability to elevate their game sort of at the drop of a hat. We saw it happen in last year's playoffs. We saw it happen in the in-season tournament. We've seen it happen over the last month. They have really gotten their act together a little bit. They've won 8 of their last 11 games. And Darvin Ham has leaned into a big lineup where they're starting Hachimura alongside LeBron and AD, which gives them certain advantages. And there are teams, guys.
I should mention this was from a few days ago.
In the
so like leaning into a big lineup.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you
he leaned out of the league.
I think the Lakers can replicate the run that they had last year. But I will tell you that there are teams that if they get the perfect path and things just fall their way and they play their best basketball, they could. It would be irresponsible for me to say that they're not. And because that they are the Lakers, and that is true, they have a lot of attention. And I'm going to say one thing that I disagree with Stephen A. on. I don't think this is LeBron's last stand. I don't think this is the Lakers' last stand. First off, I think LeBron is angling to sign a multi-year deal in the offseason with the Lakers that will be 9 figures, that will be even bigger than the deal he is on now. Now, whether or not he's able to finish that deal, whether or not the Lakers want to give him a 3-year contract and pay him $60 million when he's 42 years old, that's a different discussion. And I actually believe some of the stuff he's saying right now isn't just about this team, it's about already negotiating that contract. But the Lakers are in position to make a big swing at a trade this summer. That is one of the reasons why they didn't do a deal at this trade deadline. There was no big players to get. Their assets were more limited. When we get to June, the Lakers will magically go from 1 tradable first-round pick to 3 tradable first-round picks because of some arcane rules in the system. And all their players the teams didn't want because they had multiple years left on their contract will have 1 or 2 years left on their contracts. They are in much better position to make a major swing for a trade this summer. And if other teams in the league have disappointing finishes, which you know there will be, you will see opportunities arise for the Lakers. They are a compelling team today, they will be a compelling team tomorrow, and they will be a compelling team in June and July.
All right, so I agree completely with what Brian said there at the very end. There is no uncompelling version of the Lakers so long as LeBron is in the organization. And hell, even without him, you're going to have a whole bunch of palace intrigue as this Lakers organization tries to land on its feet after a LeBron James stint. So there is no way that the Lakers are just not going that. There are no boring Lakers seasons. There are annoying ones. There are frustrating ones. There are rebuilding seasons. But as an example, while the Lakers were doing all of their rebuilding last time, you had Kobe in his final season, and it ended with that 60-point game. And it was, you had to kind of trudge through the mud to get there. And there were certainly some down points in that season. And I will never, ever, ever forget Byron Scott playing Ronnie Price over Jordan Clarkson and basically keeping Clarkson from what could have been a first team all rookie season. Clarkson made the second team all rookie team, despite playing basically half of the year. So what he could have done with an entire year, it kind of never ceases to amaze me. But anyway, and obviously the way that Clarkson is now still in the league and still a very good player in the league, I could probably find the article that I wrote for Foreign Blue and Gold back then, where I said one day we're going to look back on this and we're going to laugh at how stupid it was that Byron Scott was playing Ronnie Price over Jordan Clarkson. I bet now that time has probably come. But anyway, as far as the LeBron contract situation goes, I don't believe he can sign a 3-year deal. After you turn 38 or something like that, I think you can only sign 2-year deals. It could still be a 9-figure deal, right? It could still be a contract that starts at $60 million and then goes up from there to, 65 or 70, whatever crazy number it would be. And it would still, combine for a $120 or $130 million contract. And to the people who are saying I don't know if I'm comfortable paying that, I don't know if I necessarily am either, but the Lakers also paid that much for, the equivalent of that to Kobe, not even having seen him recover from an Achilles injury. And while while in terms of just raw basketball and raw business, probably not the smartest decision that they ever made, but it did have a, kind of trickle down effect to the point where LeBron cites that contract and that relationship that the Lakers had with Kobe and cited it when he originally made the decision to be a Laker in the first place. So you do want to go out on good terms with a superstar of LeBron's stature. And in this case, that means probably slightly overpaying or overpaying for LeBron at the end of his career. And I know that there are a lot of Lakers fans who are just sick of all of this stuff. Look, the Lakers have been mostly mediocre in regular seasons with LeBron and AD. And somehow, some way, I just don't trust them to even be mediocre when LeBron is gone. And I would rather ride this out and then face those troubles when you have to. And I would rather not, you can't really trade LeBron. because like as we saw this year when the Lakers, like, when it came up, as it seems to every year, and then now is the time that the Lakers should trade LeBron James. When that came up, the part of the discussion was like, wait, for what? Who's giving up what for a 39-year-old LeBron? And I would say most teams would give up quite a bit for a 39-year-old LeBron, but LeBron doesn't want to go to most teams. He's going to want to be traded to a situation that is close to winning a championship. And those teams are usually strapped for assets. So yeah, you just have to ride this out. And I know that there have been some frustrating times through it. And I know that, that relationship between LeBron and the Lakers maybe isn't what either party would like it to be, where, Harrison and I compared it yesterday to a married couple staying together for the kids. I still think, though, that for both parties, and we know that they feel this way too, both parties are better off with each other than they would be without. And, ideally, those parties would learn to work together the way that they did at the beginning of the relationship. Maybe that isn't in the cards. But like this summer, for example, I would hope that LeBron would be like, still has the cachet to walk into the front office, sit down with Rob Pelinka, sit down with Jeannie Buss, and be able to say, like, all right, look, obviously I would love for you guys to trade those 3 picks and whatever contracts it takes to go out and get me a 3rd star. And I trust that you guys are going to try to do that because that's how Rob Pelinka is wired anyway. But can we get a serious coach? If that does come to fruition, can we get a coach who is like actually worthy of that opportunity? Because Darvin Ham isn't, right? And that brings this like conversation, somewhat full circle, where like it's kind of a bummer this year that the Lakers went about team building with a focus on depth and stuff like that. And because the coach screwed it up, they are now going to go back probably to the 3-star and a whole bunch of minimum contract method of building a roster. And we'll never, get another look at a team building method that won them a championship in the first place because the head coach fucked it up so badly. So I hope that how do I want to say this? I hope that the Lakers are able to get a Donovan Mitchell, to a lesser extent Trae Young, right? But ideally, they don't have enough for those guys, and they still pursue upgrading the roster, using those 3 draft picks, using those contracts, and the depth that they have this year. Next year would feature, more two-way depth, because this year's like, yeah, they have a whole bunch of guys who are NBA players in the way that like a year or 2 ago they didn't, right? Where you had the Kendrick Nuns and the Trevor Arizas of the world. And those guys wound up not being, NBA players for much longer. In this case, I think a lot of the guys on this team are still going to be NBA players here moving forward. But I think the Lakers need to find guys who fit within the team's identity on both sides of the ball. And importantly, hire a coach who acknowledges the correct identity sooner than 60 games into an NBA season. All right. That is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and for getting your comments in. So the plan for the rest of this week, I am recording this obviously on a Tuesday night. The Lakers play tomorrow night against the Clippers, so I'll be post-game here in the lounge, live in the lounge, whether it's with Raj, whether it's a guest, whatever. So we'll be talking about that game. Thursday, I will be talking to Aaron in here in the lounge live again, a little bit later than usual. It'll be around 1 Pacific time when he and I get together. That'll be here in the lounge as well. So do hit that subscribe button so that you guys get notified as soon as we do go live. And then Friday, we have our happy hour, to whether it's a quotation mark happy hour or an actually happy hour. I'll be here to answer your questions and enjoy what is left of your Friday workday together with you. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.